today is August 19th, 1988.
Right.
And first, I want to take you way, 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 way back.
Way back.
Way back to Russia.
Yeah.
If I remember what Gramps told me, to a town called Yekaterinoslav.
Yekaterinoslav, right. But we were all born in Bertha, the old town. Yekaterinoslav is the city.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but we were in like Newton, Brighton.
Uh-huh.
We were born in Bertha. That's on the map.
I see. Okay, this I didn't know.
Well, your grandmother was born in a different place.
Yeah, she was born in a different place,
But it's also Ukraine.
Uh-huh.
Yekaterinoslav.
And what are your earliest memories?
It goes back from about maybe 9 or 10 years early. In between that, my memories, maybe when I really began to remember things, when we started to travel. My father was being drafted. He was going to go into the service. We were 7 children already.
7?
7 children.
Okay. Before that, let's see if I can ask a few questions. Do you remember your grandfather? Either of your grandparents?
I remember my grandmother.
What was her name?
I think it was Shandel. Shandel.
Shandel?
Yeah, my genie is named after her. My grandmother's name, Shandel.
I see.
My grandmother.
And on which side was she?
She was on my side.
But was she your mother's father or your father? Or your mother's mother or your father?
My mother's mother.
Your mother's mother.
Their name was the boy's name. I remember my uncles. I mean, they were older, younger than you. They were Kaplan.
Uh-huh.
They were called Kaplan. But here it's Kaplan. But in Russia, it was Kaplan.
I see.
Those were my uncles, my mother's brothers. See how far I remember? And I remember when I was a baby then too, but I still remember their names.
So your grandmother's name was
Shandel.
Shandel, and her last name?
Kaplan.
Kaplan. And I guess you don't remember any great grandparents.
No.
And this is the only grandparent
that I remember, my grandmother. But no, I was youngest. My mother was only 16 years old when she got married. And by the time she was 34, she already had 7 children. So she's on the picture right here. You want to see something cute?
Uh-huh.
There's the 8 children.
Oh,
This is
yes,
this country
yes.
already. And that's me. Isn't that a picture?
Oh, boy.
Where's your father?
No, this is
your grandfather.
This is my grandfather.
This one is your grandfather. That's
Yes.
right. And this is Auntie Ruthie, you know Auntie
Yes.
Ruthie. And you knew Uncle Charlie. This is
Yes.
Uncle Harry.
Uh-huh.
Uncle Joe, you must know.
Joe, I've
in
never
Los
met.
Angeles.
I've never met him.
Is he, he's to meet him.
Yeah, I
He's
know.
to meet him. Ask your father. Ask your father.
Who was his favorite uncle?
Oh, everybody. He was everybody. When he was in the service, and I used to send him pictures. He always sent for the girls pictures. Oh, he was something else. This is the one that got killed.
Yes.
Abe.
Yes.
This is the time that he got killed. He was about almost 8.
It's a beautiful photo.
Isn't that a photo, huh? My mother here, she's only 37 years old.
Wow.
How do you like that? Look at Auntie. Oh, you remember Auntie Ruthie.
Yes.
It's frightening when I mention that name. I don't think you remember my father.
No.
Or my mother. But you
No.
remember the
Well,
cousins. This is Charlie.
Which one? Was Charlie a butcher?
A butcher? Who was a butcher in our family? No, there was a tailor. George. Oh. George. He was a dead-end kid. A real typical dead-end kid now. He died a few years ago. But that was George. You ask your father about George. Just
see, okay.
Just tell him that I call him the dead-end kid.
That's George, huh?
That's George.
So you remember you said starting from 9 years old, you travel, when you started to travel.
We started to travel around that age. And younger, I remember very little. I can just think about it, that my father was supposed to go into the service of young people. I was the third one in the family.
You were the third.
I was the third. So there's Auntie Ruthie, your grandfather, and me. After me, there were 5 boys.
Oh my goodness.
No more girls. I'm the last girl on the totem pole.
I see. Now, when you were in Russia, do you remember when you were a child what language you spoke?
Russian.
Not Yiddish.
Yiddish, and Russian was the schools were in Russian.
Did you go to school then?
At that age, I don't think they start school that early. I went to a school. Maybe it was to a cheder. That's the way they start us out, to go to cheder, to Hebrew school.
Sure.
Yeah. And that must have been, I remember that. And that must have been when I was 7 or 8 years old. I could, maybe I remember some things that happened earlier too, but I may mix it up with the later years.
Yeah, I know.
So let me...
Okay, so you started to travel when you were 9. Now, was this before the war?
That was in the war.
It was
in the war because
what?
My father was supposed to be drafted.
And how old was he?
He was a young
man. At that time?
I was only the third one. My father was 8 years older than my mother.
8 years older?
8 years older than my mother.
He was robbing the cradle.
That's right. She was 16. And he must have been 24. That's right. He must have been 24.
So he was being drafted in his early 30s then, maybe?
It must have been in the 20s.
His late 20s?
I don't remember exactly what year, but it must have been in the 20s. He must have been 26 or 25, around that age.
So he...
I remember that he used to go away for the day and bring us home food in a sack.
Where did
and
he
I wanted to go. I wanted to go with him.
And how did he get it?
They used to get like to the farms and bring home food. Then I remember the better part. This is the way back.
Yeah.
This is the early. I was the third one. So wait a minute. If I was the third one, we were Ruthie and your grandfather was a year and a half apart. Your grandfather and I are 2 years apart. So it's 3.5 years between Auntie Ruthie and me.
Altogether,
Altogether. Then the boys, after that, the boys, one of them was a skip a few years between the 5 boys. I don't remember. I do remember, but we just don't. The only time we used to talk age was when Auntie Ruthie was around. She tried to make us younger. But other than that, because she was the oldest.
Oh, I see.
And you know how women deny their ages in America anyway.
Yeah.
But this was the story. While we being talked?
The tape, yes. Yes.
Was I blabbering?
No, that's okay. I listen. This is what I wanted to find out. Now, so your father was being drafted.
He was being drafted.
And he didn't want to fight.
He didn't want to go to the service. So for one...
Well, let me ask you a question. They were the Bolsheviks?
That's right. The Kazakhs, they called them. Cossacks, yeah.
Cossacks?
Cossacks.
And
I remember the big guys that used to come to our houses, and
what would they do?
Oh, they would attack us.
Why?
Oh, they were just mean. We lived close to the when the war. That was during the war, First World War, I think it was. Sure.
And they just.
They just came in and take whatever they can get, take pretty girls, and rape them. It's like in this country. Of course, that was the time that we were kids. They didn't touch us.
Who were the Bolsheviks or the Cossacks fighting against?
It was a war. Whoever they were fighting for, but must have been Japan or whatever First World War was.
No, but I mean within Russia there was no struggle in the revolution.
Revolution, yeah, sure. And they used to come on the big horses. I remember that. So I must have been already a little older. I must have been about 10 or 11. Right.
So your father was going to be drafted to become one of them?
Well, he was going to be drafted. But I think what I understood later in years, that they had to harm themselves so they wouldn't be drafted.
Mm-hmm.
He must have done something to himself. I read a book or whatever it was, or I was told. A lot of things I was told that I remember by my parents, by my mother and father. But other than that, I just assumed. Now it's coming back to me a little bit. But I remember the Cossacks. We were hidden under the bed, and we were watched. It was terrible. I bet your grandmother didn't tell you that.
Yeah,
She did?
Yeah, my grandfather.
Your grandfather, yeah.
Barney did.
Yeah, Barney, sure. Of course, he was with us.
Yeah.
Barney used to go, too, to help my father,
Mm-hmm.
to bring the food for the rest of the family. Too bad he's not here. Oh,
I
here,
know.
guy. Can't get over it.
What did your father do for a living?
In the old country,
Mm-hmm.
he was like a fixing shoes, cobbler.
Mm-hmm.
And we had it in the house. We had a porch, and that was his
workshop.
Like his workshop there.
So
yeah.
people came to him. He didn't go around with a push cart and so
No,
forth.
they came to him. He was already the richer part. That was the later part already, because I remember that very well. So it must have been when I was already 11.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of a house did you live in?
We lived in a nice house. We had a few rooms.
Was it a one-family house?
Everything was on the ground,
On
like
the ground.
villas.
But no one else. It wasn't like several families living in one building. It was just
No.
You were the only family in the house.
We were on the ground. There was a lot of, like a bunch of villas.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And everybody had their little house. Everything was on the ground floor, no upper floor.
No upper floor.
Not that I know of.
And was there a basement, or was it anything under?
There
Storage
might have been.
or whatever.
There might have been, because they used to say how they called it in Jewish, like a basement. I forgot what you called it. A keller.
Uh-huh.
A keller. That was a basement. In Jewish, it's a keller.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was a long
Okay,
time,
it's a
Brad.
long time. I know. Wait. Okay, so you had and your mother was
My
just
mother
taking care
was
of all the
busy having kids.
Yeah.
By the time we came to Constantinople, there was already 7 kids and 1 on the way.
Okay.
So-
Before we get to Constantinople,
Yeah,
your father was going to be drafted,
yeah.
and
The war broke out
he
then.
just decided to take the whole family and go, or did he have?
Oh yes, he decided to take the whole family and go. Yeah.
What
And we
about
all-
his brothers and sisters?
They all drifted away. Everybody went to different places. There was also about 5 boys and one brother that I remember because it was here already spoken about. And I remember that he still must be in Milwaukee. I think I told you one time. One brother. He came before my father.
Oh, he did?
He came to this country before my father. And when we came to this country, he tried to look him up.
Yeah.
But I don't remember if he ever got in touch with him or not. But at one time we found the children from Los Angeles. They used to be in touch with him. Right. By the same name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it spelled the same way?
None of us spelled the last name the same. It was hard for the kids when they started school. You know,
Yes.
you went to school. So the closest way we spelled it like you spell it, Keimach. I have cousins in New Jersey. They don't spell it that way. They spell it with Cayman. Oh, in Milwaukee, people call themselves Cayman. Kayman. That was nice, but Keimach, who can spell Keimach?
So you have relatives in New Jersey. Now,
Not
I
in-
recently...
Yes, in New Jersey, a professor of college.
I recently heard about someone named... And
Yes,
they were
he
going to put me
died.
in touch. No,
He died, not maybe his son.
maybe his son.
His son got to be there. He had 2 children, that's right.
Do you know what town in New Jersey?
He was a college professor. I can find out. His sister still lives in fact, she lives in Revere. That's my one of my father's brothers that died in this country. 2 brothers that he had in this country.
Do you know what their names were?
Keimach. One was one I remember, the other one I don't. One was Avrum, so they called him Abe. That's Charlotte's father. She lives in Revere now. And she has children, and she already lost her husband too. Her name is Charlotte Fox now, but her name was Keimach. I'll bring you back to a lot of people.
Okay. Right, well,
Let's go.
Charlotte's father was Avram, Abe.
Avrum, yeah, Abe they called him. Aaron, maybe Aaron, I don't know, but...
And he was the one who came here before your father?
Yes.
Your father's name?
Jacob.
Jacob.
Gedale. Jewish names, Gedale.
Uh-huh.
Here he is,
Yeah.
Gedale. That's the young, I think that's their engagement picture. I don't know, it's got to be. Because they look young.
Yeah.
My mother, she was really young.
And the other brother, the other uncle of yours who came here?
Also lived in Chelsea. They both lived in Chelsea. They
Do you
had...
remember his name? His first name?
His first name, I don't know. That's the cousins from Limpart. On the beach they live. Marblehead. We have cousins, my father's brothers here. Quite a few of them. Right?
But you remember his first name?
Zillick? Would it be Zillick? I don't know. I don't remember. But I remember Charlotte's father. He was younger. The other one was older. So I really don't. That I didn't expect it. If you had mentioned that to me, I would have called them up and got their names.
Do you remember, it's okay, do you remember anyone in your family or ever heard anyone mention someone whose first name was Wolf?
I think my father mentioned it, Wolf. I remember my father used to, maybe the one in Milwaukee changed his name.
It would have been someone at least a generation older than your father. The reason I ask is that there is a Carol Keimach or whatever, Keimach, in New York.
Yeah.
Who spells it Keimach. And I came across her by accident, and she inquired, and her oldest relative, because she didn't know anyone that I knew, going back.
Yeah, that's right.
But the oldest one that she remembered was Wolf, or that she could
Let
find
me
out.
tell you about a Wolf name. One of my George's, that's one of the grandchildren. Your father's brother, George. What do you call
No,
it?
my grandfather's brother.
Your grandfather. That
Okay.
makes
Yeah.
we're going back. Your grandfather's brother, George, like I told you, we called him the dead-end kid. He married a girl by the name Wolf. I don't know if you can put that together. Sally Keimach, her name was Sally Wolf.
I see.
See, I don't know whether it's connected with her family or I don't remember. But this is it. This is the name that I remember. I remember all their other names, my other brothers' names, their wives.
Mm-hmm. So, it was time to leave Russia. How did you leave? How did you start the trip?
We ended up in Constantinople.
But before you got to Constantinople,
Before?
yeah, I mean, you packed up all your things, and how did you start to move? Did you have wagons, or did you walk, or
We might have
by
gone
boat?
on a horse and buggy, but I don't remember. The last thing after, when I realized, when I knew, I began to remember everything when we were in Constantinople. So how old was I when I was in Constantinople? We were there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I must have been about 11, 10 or 11, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
10 or 11. And we stayed there for 3 years. Came from Russia. The only thing I remember, we landed in Constantinople.
And what was life like there?
Oh, Constantinople. Terrible. We were starving. Comes back the same thing. My mother had to go to work with all our children, with 7 children. She had to go to work.
Where would the kids be while she went to work?
I took care of them.
Oh.
It was some book. It's a book, I'm telling you. And I had to take care of the children. I was too young to go to work. And she used to work in a food place, like in like a community center.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see what people go through here now. And people, the way they live here, I says, my parents didn't have that.
Mm.
They come here, the Russians, that's the way they live here. They get everything. My parents didn't get that when we came to America. My father worked for $12 a week.
Wait, this is in which country? $12 a week. In this country.
This country already.
Let's
yeah.
stay in
Oh, you
Constantinople.
still want to stay in
I want to stay in
Constantinople?
Constantinople. So you took care of your brothers, or the 5 younger brothers.
That's right. My father, I
Boy, that
don't
was a-
remember what he was doing. He must have worked somewhere because I remember where
What about the language? They didn't speak Russian.
they, in Constantinople, they spoke French. Their language, like here, English, was French. Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey.
They didn't speak Turkish?
They did. Oh yeah, the Turks spoke Turks, but in school they were being taught French.
Did you go to school there?
If I took care of 5 kids, could I go to work?
All right. And at school,
I
too.
didn't. No. I had to stay home. My sister and your grandfather worked, and I stayed home, and my mother worked, and my father worked. Isn't that funny? I don't remember my father those days like I remember my mother. Isn't that a strange thing? I was more with her. What a life. Oh, God. When we were in Constantinople, we all slept in one room, all of us, on the floor. That's when my brother George got hurt. My mother got blind, and he was already, he was 12. So I was 10.
What happened?
He was a dead-end kid. I used to run out. He never used to come home, and then we used to get locked in. And he used to come in through the roof. So the maintenance or the janitor, whoever it was, stopped him and he was fighting with him. So my mother saw, we were all in the same room. So my mother saw that he was fighting George, so she went over to protect her little boy. He was 12 years old.
And what happened?
And he hit her instead of George. So she got partially blind.
He hit her?
He didn't mean to hit her, but he pushed her away and she must have fallen. But that's what I remember what happened when we were in Constantinople. So my mother was, as your father and mother-in-law, my mother was partially blind in
Yes.
this country too.
And
Yeah. And all my life is my mother. Couldn't go to school. I worked about, just for curiosity, I wanted to go to work. I'd take care of the kids all the time.
now in Constantinople, then you lived in kind of like a rooming house, and you had one room in it, and
We had one room.
like a
It
hotel,
was
or?
like a hotel. It was like a hotel. There must have been another floor. And we had one room like this.
Uh-huh.
A little smaller maybe. But each one had their little cot and
Uh-huh.
a table in the room.
Did you? I mean, I see you made a face as you said that now, but when you were a
I
child,
know it was frightening.
oh, it was frightening then.
Yeah, then. Oh, my God. Now I'm a queen. What are you talking about? Oh, was it bad? I'm just remembering how it was. My sister, my mother used to bake, and she would go out to a fort. You know, like where the soldiers ate. It was like
Commissary?
something like that, yeah. And she used to sell coffee rolls. She used to stay in a bag
Mm-hmm.
and sell coffee rolls.
And
Terrible.
how was it that you came to the United States, to this country?
My mother had an uncle here.
What was his name?
His name, your father is named after the uncle.
So, and the uncle?
Your grandfather.
Barney? No, my father. must
Your
be. Yeah, Melvin.
Melvin.
Is named after.
That's what I said before. Your father is named after one of my cousins that took us over to this country.
What was that cousin's name?
That cousin's name,
He must have been.
Moishe something.
He was Avram's son.
Not Avrum's. That was a cousin. It wasn't a relative. The Avrum's son was my uncle, was my father's brother. This is my mother's side.
Oh, your mother's side. Okay.
Don't mix me up.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was my fault.
Yeah.
Okay. So the name of this cousin.
Oh, I know his name very well. If it were just the cousins are still alive, we used to have a cousins club. Didn't your father and mother tell you
No.
about the cousins club?
No.
Oh, you gotta ask them. Those are the ones that took us over to America.
The name.
The name was Ferguson. Ferguson?
Ferguson, right?
Ferguson. Oh my God! I'll tell you, it must have been Kaplan. You know who would know? Melvin. Your father would know.
You would know. Okay.
Oh yes.
So did this cousin send tickets or whatever to you? Or?
Well, we had to find out a lot of doing to do because we didn't want to stay in Constantinople. We had no idea. We were going to Palestine. We had no idea that we were going. We were just thrown into a boat, and we were going to Palestine. How we got to America, we don't know. But I remember they threw us in a little rowboat. Took us over someplace. It's a lot to remember. I'm glad I forgot it. It's coming back to me. Isn't that awful, huh? This is nothing. This is nothing. Anyway, they had to write to the Hayas. They have a Hayas here.
Mm-hmm.
And the cousins found out that we were coming to America. So through Hayas, they found out, and they sent money to come out to America. Your father and Auntie Ruthie.
My grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's not over.
No, it's all right.
You know,
It's fine.
I'm so much for Mel that I can't
Yeah,
help
yeah.
it. I keep mentioning his name.
Okay, so
He would get a kick out of that.
yes, you would.
Oh, I love them. Oh, your mother and father. Oh, and we had plenty with afterwards with weddings. Oh, and I had to do everything.
Oh God. So wait.
All right, let's go.
You came to this country on a boat. You had to, right?
Oh, we came afterwards. We already had arranged. First, Ruthie and Barney came here to this country.
They came without you.
Without me. I was the dead-end kid. I was left out. All of us couldn't come together.
You couldn't.
No. So we were in Constantinople together.
Okay, now tell me everyone who stayed in Constantinople. You? Did your mother stay with you?
My mother,
Your mother stayed with you.
and I, and the 5 boys.
So your father and Ruthie and Barney, only the three of them went to America?
2 of them. Just Ruthie and Barney.
Your father stayed?
My father was here before. And then when my father was here, and he made a few dollars to pay off the debts from his coming over, they sent out tickets for your grandfather and Ruthie. They're the oldest.
Oh my.
And
So
I
your
am the
father
third
had-
one.
Your father had already left Constantinople.
Oh, yes. Yes. Then Ruthie and Barney came next. And I was left there, and then they all went to work, and they stayed with the cousins, and they didn't have to pay board or anything. Barney was with a different person. My father was with a different person, and Ruthie. And they had to go to work. Father worked in a grocery store. Grandfather. And Ruthie worked she worked in Constantinople. Oh, she got sick. She worked as a, what do you call them? Not a midwife, but like a helper,
Mhm.
kids. She was a
wet nurse? Or?
a nurse. Come on. She was 15 years old, 16 years old. Just to help them in the house, a cleaning person.
Oh, I see.
Like a
Housekeeper.
Housekeeper, yeah. And she got sick there, and she had to have her hair shaved.
When that was in Constantinople?
That was all in Constantinople. Oh, yeah. So we had one head less to feed. Oh, my God. There's no end to it, what we went through. I don't know if any other people went through the same thing.
Too many
Maybe
others.
the ones, do you know who I know that went through the same thing? I happened to meet, and I know them, I still know them. They used to call themselves Weiner. Their name was Weiner. We came on the same boat to America. I don't know where they come from, but we met on the boat. They had quite a few children, too. So she used to call her children meine Evelach. My Evelach means like my birds, my little ones, dear ones, meine Evelach. And here am I taking care of and her, I think they were the same age. That's right. We were the same age. Her child and me were the same age. He is a lawyer now, a very prominent lawyer, and their name is Werner. And the son-in-law, and she married that lawyer's wife. They had children, and she married a doctor. The doctor is very friendly with my Lenny.
Really?
Yes. They both went to school together, and they both, look at how.
Yeah, a small
My
world after
Jeannie's
all that.
husband.
Mhm. What was the boat like?
The name of the boat I know. Braga.
Braga?
Braga. Braga. Braga.
And what, do you remember what year it was?
1921. The end, beginning, I don't know. I came in this country 1922 in December.
So it was 22 that you were on the boat then?
We were on the boat on 22, right. We came in the end because I remember they kept us in Ellis Island. So I remember it was Christmas and New Year time. So it was the end of the year. Funny, isn't it?
What do you remember about the boat?
The boat? Shall I tell you what I remember?
I want you to tell me what you remember.
You want me to tell you. Don't scream.
Okay.
We were on the boat for 3 weeks. Wait, you didn't hear nothing yet. The minute I got on the boat, I started to throw up. I was rocking the boat. I was locked in the cabin. Did not see nothing. But one time they stopped off. My brother Joe, what's his name? Joe, yeah. He remembers. He says the only thing he remembers about the boat. He was younger than me.
Yeah.
He's the next. Harry's next to me. He must have been. He must have been about 8 or 9 years old.
Huh.
He remembers that we stopped. Where does the fig city, or they brought figs to the boat? That's all I wanted to eat was figs. For 3 weeks, I did not see daylight.
Oh no. You were
Right.
sick the whole trip.
Sick. You know when I started to eat figs? About 2 years ago. And my kids know about that too. I would never look at a fig.
Oh my God.
For 21 days on the boat. Then we come to America, they hold us in Ellis Island.
Why?
My mother was already hurt, Constantinople, so she was touched on her eyes. She couldn't see. They can't let you in. Then my brother, Joe, I don't know where he picked it up, but he had sores on his head and they had to shave his head in Ellis Island. They kept us there for about 10 days or more. And everybody was so uptight. Nobody could come to see us. We were like isolated. It was contagious. So we stayed in Ellis Island. Would you believe it, huh? It's a different story than your grandmother's.
Yes, it is. Did you see the Statue of Liberty?
Of course. That's all I saw. That's all I remember when I got off the boat.
What did you feel?
I didn't feel anything. I was sick. I was ready.
Oh,
3 weeks on the boat. I got I was a grace of hell till I got married. And when I got off the boat, I couldn't even walk. I was in the cabin all the time. The only thing I ate was figs. That's what Joe tells me. I don't remember. I remember it. I remember that I ate figs. Isn't it amazing? Huh?
You were in Ellis Island 10 days.
10 days in Ellis Island until my mother's, they looked into the record about the eyes and they checked the head. That was my Joe's, him they had to shave his hair off. And they examined everybody. I was a little bit, maybe I had something in my eye. I never wore glasses then, but you know, kids. And so we stayed in Ellis Island. So by the time I came to this country, I was already 14 years old. See, that's a skip. 14 years because...
3 years in Constantinople.
That's right. I remember that very clearly. And we started off to live here with the 8 children in 2 bedrooms, 3 rooms, and a kitchen.
Wait a minute. You skipped a few steps.
We skipped.
From
We
Ellis
come out
Island.
from Ellis Island.
And then where'd you go?
We went to one of my cousins That
Where?
cousin that I tell you about your father's name. Barney's,
In what city?
they live in Dorchester.
Well, you went from Ellis Island to Dorchester in one day?
No, it was all arranged. They were planning already where to put us, so they already had an apartment for us. But how and when we landed in the West End, I don't know.
So you don't remember the trip from New York to Boston?
I don't remember that. No, yes, I do. We landed in Dorchester with somebody. Cousins. That Ruthie and Barney stayed with the cousins. By the time I came, I'm talking about myself.
Yeah?
Myself, my mother, and the 5 boys.
Yes.
That's me. My father was here, and Barney and Ruthie.
Okay, so you came to Dorchester?
From Ellis Island.
Okay, now, this you have to remember. Let me flip the tape. Got a little more to go.
Yeah.
What was the address?
It'll tell you, yeah.
What was the address of the first place in Dorchester? This you have to remember. It's the law.
It's the law.
Yeah, you have to remember.
Then it must have been on William Street.
What number?
Oy vey, no, the number 2. I don't remember, but it was on William Street. Do you know why I remember that? Because your father and mother lived in Dorchester on Walk Hill Avenue. No. Yeah, Barney and Bertha. They're your grandparents, right?
Mm-hmm.
They lived on Walk Hill Street.
Okay, so William Street is where you moved to.
We didn't move there. We came there without shuts luck with nothing. Already Ruthie and Barney were there. They all met us in that house, and then they must have had this apartment that in the West End. That was the cheapest place we can go to. 3 rooms on West Cedar Street. I don't remember the number. The street is still here, right near Mass General Hospital. West Cedar Street, right on where the head shell is.
Mm-hmm.
Good memory, huh?
Very good. Okay, wait.
Now what?
When you arrived in Dorchester and you saw your father and Ruthie and Barney...
I don't remember that scene. Do you want to know something?
Really?
I don't remember. It was... Maybe I was still sick. Because...
Must have been.
I must have been still out of commission. I must have been...
I know the feeling.
It must have been, because why wouldn't I remember that part? I never thought about that. I never thought about coming to Dorchester either. But I remember all my cousins. They still live there. Some of them have passed on. The older ones went. There were, tip of my tongue, the children's name, very well-to-do people. They were in the iron business. Louis and Bertha. That's where we stopped off. One of the cousins from Dorchester. And there was a Marley. If Ruthie was alive, if Ruthie was with it, she would tell you exactly. She was with them all the time.
But she was so much younger.
Ruthie's the oldest.
Oh, Ruthie's the oldest. Okay, wait.
I'm the younger.
Okay. I'm all mixed up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So you got to Cedar...
West Cedar Street.
West Cedar Street.
West Cedar Street in the West End.
And
Right near the Mass General Hospital.
And this was home for you?
Yes, that's what we had.
For about
3
how many
rooms.
years?
How many years we lived?
About.
Not too long, because we moved we couldn't stay there. There wasn't enough room. So from West Cedar Street, we moved to Anderson Street also. Just a couple of streets, like a lot of places in Florida. The higher the numbers, the nicer it is. That's how this was.
I see.
This was the lower part of the West End, and the higher it went, it was Anderson, coming to the hill part. You know the West End? The park?
I wish I knew.
Ooh, ooh.
I don't know Boston well at
Brad.
all.
You should know Boston. That's what's coming up nice. Everything Boston. What they remodeled, what
I know,
they
it
put
looks
in,
very, very nice.
right on the Charles River. That's where I lived, right near the Charles River. We used to walk. I used to wheel Jeannie with a carrot in Charles River myself. I lived there myself too. After I got married, even. I got married from where?
Oh wait, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Wait, more.
Anderson, right?
Anderson Street.
How many rooms there?
Anderson Street was.
What number?
It was right before the hill part. It was Joy Street. It was all kinds of going towards the. They call Scully Square. Scully Square.
Okay.
Right near Scully Square.
Okay.
You'll have to go to Boston and look it up. I mean it.
Why do you think I'm asking you all the numbers in the street
Oh.
names? You see? One day.
And you know, my place of business was in the.
You're jumping ahead. Give a guy a chance. Gee. Okay. I'm trying to put it, because then putting the pieces together from here, putting them back. So I'm trying to get them all.
Okay.
Anderson Street, you stayed there how long?
We lived there a long time. Yeah, we lived there because I.
Now, did Barney and Bertha get married?
You know, Barney and Bertha. Bertha, your grandmother. We took her in to our 8 children. Barney was between 6 or 8 weeks. Barney and Ruthie got married, and the 4th of July in June. And the 4th of June and July, your grandparent got married. And I don't remember if she lived with us. She couldn't have. We were too many children. I don't think so. She must have lived with her mother and father. Did she? I don't remember. But she was like another child to us. She was a youngster. She was 21 years old, 20 years old. Like me. Her and I are the same age. We're just a few months apart. I was 80 last December, and she was there. And
Yeah,
she
she
was
was
in
just
July.
80, yeah.
See that? I remember.
Great. So,
Okay.
So, Barney got married from Anderson Street.
From Anderson Street. Barney got married.
And Ruthie?
Ruthie got married from Anderson.
So Ruthie got married in June.
June the 22nd. And Barney got married.
Oh my goodness, 2 weeks later.
That's right. 4th of July. Wait till you hear what happened. Go ahead. What do you want me to tell you?
Go ahead.
All right. There was the weddings all planned. They had their clothes. We had the caterers. We had everything arranged. All we were waiting for the date. My little brother goes on a roof, zooms the head down, and gets killed. That was the talk of the West End in 1920, I guess. No. It was, wait a minute, I got married 2 years before. I got married in 29, must be 1927. 2 years.
And how old was he?
He was almost 7. He was almost 8. He was the youngest.
So he was born in Constantinople.
He was born in Constantinople.
And his
We
name?
all came to America. And his name is A.B. And what was he? Now, where were we?
Well, we were in 1920.
When I got married.
Yeah, well, when
they got married.
They got married,
Yeah.
which is right around the same time.
At the same time. That's the same month.
So,
And everything was called off for that 1 week. and they had to get married just the same. So there were no weddings, but just in a house. I don't remember Bertha's, Bonnie's wedding. I must come to me. But Ruthie got married in the house because everything was in Dorchester, because they were the originators, the American cousins, the Americana. And then Bertha might have gotten married in their house because they had, we never talked about it. Isn't that funny? And there were no weddings though.
No big weddings.
No big weddings. It was in the house. They had to get married. They couldn't put it off. That was the Jewish religion.
And so this is 1927.
Yep.
You got married
1929.
1929.
June 18. I remember me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your husband's first name?
David.
And how did you meet him?
To not a concert, it was a dance. Everything was dancing. I met him at a dance in the West End, the West End house. In the West End.
And how long after you met him did you get married?
About 2 years later.
Oh.
Yeah, not quite 2 years. Met him in the winter, we got married the following, about a year and a half.
That was 1929.
I got married in 1921. I was 29, and I was
21 years old.
21 and a half, almost 22. And so I am 80, so it was just right. Because I got married in June, and we got 6 months in between.
The wedding and the, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And you moved out of the house then?
Oh yes, we had an apartment.
Where?
I didn't want in the West End, on Joy Street, a 3-bedroom apartment.
Now, the building must still be there, huh?
Oh yes, up the hill, right over the school. Oh yes, the building is still there. It goes all the way up.
Because those buildings they didn't tear down.
Not yet. I don't know if the school is still there, but it must be.
And before we go any farther, can you give me and just tell me about the personality of your parents, one at a time?
One at a time.
Yeah.
From when? From
Well,
what
what
age?
it changed that much, huh?
Well, look, we were changed that much. I was 10 years, let's say 10 years, 9 years that we started to travel. How much can I remember of them?
Well, just then what, if I said to think of your father, what kind of things come to mind?
Not bad. I mean, it was good years. We knew to respect our parents, and we did. Mm-hmm. The old country, I mean even here, the old country, we never knew. But we were so young, each one of them. Mm-hmm. And they weren't rich parents. Who was rich then? Mm-hmm. We were poor ourselves until we started out.
Did your father have a sense of humor, or was he boisterous, or was he more quiet, or was he?
He was nice. He couldn't read or write. Mm-hmm. He used to make a cross. But he was president of the ACTI.
What's that?
ACTI, a credit union.
Oh.
All right. And he was treasurer of the, in Baker Street on the cemeteries. I mean, he was, and he didn't know All he did was they took his cross. That's it. And as far as being home with them, they weren't too strict. Unless you had to be good, or else they would either go slap across the mouth or with a finger, but not to an extent to get. Just we lived there. We went.
Was he a talkative man, or?
Well, the talkative part would be in the younger years, but in the older years, we weren't already too long together.
All right, you moved out.
See, we moved out.
And your mother? What was?
My mother was always a sick person.
Really?
Oh, tell you from after me, Constantinople and Russia. I mean, children were coming every other year. But it wasn't bad. I know that we had a grocery store and used to bring up a breakfast. It was like to a catered affair, bring up for 10 people. 10 people, it's a crowd. And everything was in order, and they used to put it on the book. And came the end of the week, my father with his $12 a week, he used to pay the bill. Yeah, and then the others went to work. Barney and Ruthie were the first one they never went to school. And I didn't go to school. And we knew that we have to bring the money to that, which I didn't work that much because I wanted to. I said, I have to get in with other people. So I was allowed to go to work. But I didn't work very long, and I went to work, and then I got married.
And what did you do after you got married? You didn't work after you got married?
I never worked after that. You know what they call me? A kept woman. My doctor, I meet him in the bank. After I got married. Sure, I was a kept woman. I never worked. In fact, when Dave died, I met somebody, and he says, I think it was the doctor that I met in the bank. I think so. So he says, do you work here? I says, no, I'm a kept woman. He started to laugh. He says, Bertha. I never worked.
So you stayed at home. What'd you do all day?
Well, first of all, I had my baby just to the 9 months.
Oh, really? Right away?
Right away. So, right away, it's pregnancy. We're throwing up again.
Oh, boy.
How could I go to work? So then Jeannie was even born way before. She came about 3.5 weeks before time. So already they were talking about me. So soon. She came on time before. She came on time before, that's it. And I was busy after that with the baby, and my husband's aunt lived with me. She was like his mother. Anna. Everybody knows Anna. You ask anybody in the family, they know Tante Anna. And she lived with me for 25 years. Yes, sir. Until Barry started to complain that he doesn't want to sleep in the same room with Anna. He was going to be bar mitzvah. Would you believe it?
Oh, my goodness.
She lived with me.
Oh, my goodness.
Did you ever hear anything like it? So how could I go to work? And then 4 years later, 3 years later, become pregnant again with Mimi. 3.5 years later, become pregnant with Barry. So I was busy all these weeks
Yes.
regenerating.
So you had altogether 3.
3, that's it. There they are.
Bing, bing, bing.
Bing, bing, bing. No, it was 4 years apart. 4.
Everyone is 4 years?
Everyone is 3.5.
Oh.
Mimi and Barry. Remember Mimi? You saw her the other day.
Of course.
Mimi and Barry are 3.5. Jeannie and Mimi are 4.
I see.
Jeannie was born in January, Mimi was born in April, and Barry was born in January.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3.5 years between.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Look at the three fatties.
No, good-looking kids.
Yeah. And there's Brad. And there's the whole wedding.
Oh my goodness, that's Brad?
That's Brad, yes. You're
Yeah,
kidding.
I
Brad is.
haven't seen him since.
There is Brad. You should see him. A big New York lawyer.
Really?
Yes. He's now on vacationing from the company in Los Angeles with his whole family. What do I mean by a whole family? The baby and 2 cats. Wine him and dine him for a month. That's his law firm. He won a case with some other cases there that was being held. And there we always see a kid, they see some, there's his wedding. You can see the wedding picture. That he looks better here.
Golly. Who's this?
This is my husband.
Oh, I never knew him.
No. And there's me, the wedding picture. And this is my baby, Mimi's. Karen, the baby youngest. Yeah. And here's Jeannie
Yeah, and Mimi.
and Mimi. And this is Mimi's daughter's wedding.
Uh-huh.
There's your silent
That's Jeannie.
admirer. And there's Karen. And there's Barry and Judy. And those are his 2 children. He's adopted. This guy's adopted. We
Uh-huh.
adopted him. Yeah. And he's now through with college. And he's lives in an apartment right near Mommy and Daddy.
Uh-huh.
And
Was he adopted as a baby?
yes,
An
with an
infant?
infant.
An infant.
Oh yes, yes, yes. In fact, my Jeannie had to be the star witness. No mother or father. Sister could be the witness. She went to New Jersey when you lived in New Jersey, Barry. Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting, isn't it, huh?
So, okay,
Aren't you getting
so
hungry?
now... Oh, are you hungry? Have you
No,
had lunch?
I ate my lunch. Oh no.
Are you sure?
Of course. Of course I did.
Would you tell me the truth?
I'm telling you the truth. Come on. I'm worried about you.
Oh, don't worry about me. I
Yeah.
haven't even finished my glass of water
Oh,
yet.
good. You want a stronger drink?
I don't drink. I just drink water.
You take a glass of wine?
No, then
You
I'll
will?
fall asleep or
Oh,
tell bad
boy.
jokes
Okay.
or both.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you got married.
Yeah. Very.
And you had your 3 kids.
3 kids. And the best years of my life. I come back now. What I went through was my married life. The best.
That's wonderful.
35 years. He's gone.
That's
Yeah, 25. It's going to be 25 in January. 24 years. That was the end of my life. I'll never forget when we went, he had to have a biopsy. And the minute they took him in to the hospital, everybody ran, and Lenny, and Jeannie, and Barry, and Mimi, and all that went to the hospital. And I'm sitting there, and he said, no, everybody no. I says, what can I tell you kids? I know how you feel, but my ball is over. The party was over. And that was it. It was over. In 2 months he went.
Cancer?
Yeah. Had a toothache. Started with a toothache. And 2 months he went. Yes, doll. Say something.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Happy as a lark. Everybody was crazy about him. Uncle Dave and Uncle Dave and Uncle Dave. Your mother. Ay. Your grandmother. Your father. He was loved by everyone.
Oh, wait a minute, you said 25 years? So that was
It's 24.
64.
64.
But I should have known him because I was 10 years old. 11
You were
years
10 years old, but you weren't around here. I don't know
Yeah.
where you were. Or maybe they didn't take you and we just talked about it. But what does a 10-year-old kid know?
Not much.
An uncle died and that's all. You are 33?
34.
34.
Almost 35.
Yeah, almost 35. That's right. So you were 10 years old, sure. Time doesn't stay. Doesn't stand still, no man.
That's true. Can you tell me about my grandfather?
Your grandfather?
Yeah.
He's a peach. My peach, anyway. He was so good. They all have, Keimach's tempers or whatever. I mean, but with me, he watched over me. If I had a date to go out, he used to tell me when to come home. And not to stay in the hallway. Your girl, I shouldn't stay in the hallways. And he was only 2 years older than me.
Oh, really?
That's all.
Oh, my.
That's right. But he was the big brother. Because after me, they were all little brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But he was peach. Your grandmother, too. I got the whole family. We doubled up in our family. With your mother's, even your mother's parents, too. We were close. And your mother and father. Your mother, I made the shower in my house.
Really?
Oh, yes. Jeannie's girlfriend. And your grandmother catches how often do they see their children? So Sister Jeannie, she was sitting at the same table. And she must have had a drink or something. So she goes by our table. Oh, she says, Jeannie and Lenny. Oh, she says, I owe you my life. She says, you gave me such a beautiful daughter-in-law. Because Jeannie's girlfriend was Phyllis, and she paired them up.
Mm-hmm.
He married Jeannie's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something. So she still remembers. She's all right. She carried on to that party, and you guys were fantastic, like actors. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. What you said all about her. You were singing the song. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
The whole party was just great. And my kids got to know a lot of the other side of the family. Your Bertha Bobby's, Bobby Bertha. I got to remember your grandmother's sister, Sarah.
And Lily.
Lily's daughter, and my Mimi were both in the hospital when they were 5 years old. You heard a coincidence? And at that time, we didn't have no cars. They were in the Wellesley Newton Hospital. They have a resort somewhere in Wellesley. And we had to go by streetcar once a week to visit with them. They had surgery. Mimi had surgery in the lung, She had the lung removed.
You're kidding.
Yep. Lily's daughter had...
Does she still smoke?
She gave it up already. I don't dare ask. I don't see her smoke anymore. But she finally gave it up. She had a lung removed.
As a child, she had a lung removed?
As a child, yeah. And she didn't smoke then. Why did they remove a lung? She didn't smoke. And Lily's daughter had paralysis. They were both in the Children's Hospital. The Children's Hospital have a home in Wellesley. It's like recuperated, like a country place. Very beautiful home there. The Children's Hospital own it. But we couldn't go to see them only once a week. We couldn't see them every day. So they started to reminisce their childhood, Mimi and Lily.
Yes.
and her daughter.
Whose name I forget, but I know who you're talking about.
I know. Yeah, she still wears her brace.
Yes.
Yeah, Mimi, thank God. I mean, she's fine. She had different kind of troubles. But Lily's daughter is doing great. He's a prince, the guy she married. A very nice man.
I don't know them so well.
I know you don't, but like the kids met at the party. And they're now married children, and they growed up. All things.
So,
what kind of a man he was, my father?
Yeah.
He was a busy man, a religious man. He used to go to the temple. We observed the holidays, the Jewish holidays, and we kept a kosher house. And
oh really? Two sets of dishes, everything?
oh yes, different towels. I did it until I moved here.
You're kidding.
I'm not. I
kept
did it
strict
until I
kosher?
moved. Strictly kosher. Because my husband, his father, was a rabbi. And he wouldn't eat in anybody's house. And my aunt that lived with me was also very kosher. And my parents were kosher. So I had to keep a kosher house.
Oh my goodness.
That's right. Oh, yes. But other than that, real family life, how much you keep busy with your own activities. Yeah.
Anything in particular you remember about Barney?
Barney was a sick man.
At the end, yeah.
And not too much in the end, but the end he was like a cigarette. But in the younger years too, we had back trouble because he was an upholster.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to pick the heavy
Yeah.
furniture and the tacks in his mouth, take a
Yeah.
hammer in his mouth. I don't think they were rust-proof then.
No,
Now they are.
it's still not good.
They're still no good, is right. Who choose the tacks? And a hard worker, devoted father. Listen, I don't have to tell you. Good to the children. Very nice. Can't find anything wrong with him.
Oh, no, I didn't.
No, but I mean...
The funny thing was, when I went, I sat down with him
Oh,
also.
did you do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shortly before he died.
Oh, really?
Because it suddenly dawned on me.
Oh, that was... No one
and I
ever
sat
heard
down-
that. Say that, yeah.
I sat down with him, and I had never asked him about his life before. To me, he was always Gramps.
Yeah. Oh,
Period.
so you don't know much about him?
So I didn't know, and then I started to hear, just like you're telling me these things, and suddenly this man that I had known, from the time I was a baby,
He went to
suddenly it
work
was
when
the
he was
whole-
14, 13 years old.
a whole story.
Carried grocery stores. Oh, and papers. And, oh, God, what he went through. And then he went to work. He didn't go to school. He did not go to school. I didn't either. The younger kids. My Joe was already, he worked for Howard to Hughes. Oh, yes. My
What?
Joe, yes. My brother Joe. He was a sergeant in the army. Yes. And my brother Charlie also. He went to school. They all went to school. We didn't. Up to me. They after that. After that, they went to school.
So is Joe now the only other?
Joe and Harry are the only
Oh,
two
Harry.
brothers. Yes, Harry is
Also in
Buddy's-
California?
They're both in California, but Harry's daughter is Diana and Buddy.
I
You
don't know
them. They live in. Where do they live?
What's the last name?
Harry.
No. Diana and Buddy.
Oh, Warwick.
Never heard the name.
Yeah, Buddy Warwick, we call him. They were school kids, lovers. Oh, and when I went through with these kids, I can't begin to tell you.
But they
That was in
When did Joe and Harry move to
a
California?
long time ago.
But they went to school here in the Boston
Joe,
area.
what's his name? George is next to Joe. Then is Harry. Then it's me. And after me is that. Anyway, Joey. Who did you want to know from George?
No, well, Joe. Wait a minute. Joe is the one with the really nice handwriting.
Yes. Yes, that Joe.
Like an artist.
Like an artist. That's it. We sent him to school.
Now he's the youngest surviving one right now, right?
No, Harry too.
Harry's younger than Joe?
Harry is older.
Harry's old. Okay, so Joe's the
Joe
youngest.
is the youngest, and the one that died was the youngest, but he's next to the
Yes.
youngest. Joe, I think, just turned 70 or 71. Yes, where we go now with I'm going to be 81.
Yeah.
He was 71,
I
like
see.
10 years apart, because it was
All
three
ones in
before.
between, yeah.
all in between.
I see. So you don't see him too much then, huh?
When I go to California, yeah.
You go to California?
I went to California, and I went to Spain, and I went to Israel, and I went to, you name it,
Oh
Texas.
my.
Where else was I? I was a lot.
You did a lot of traveling.
I did. After my husband died, not the first year, but the second year, I had to do something. I didn't want to go to work. I never worked, so I didn't want to go to work. So I gave myself, oh yeah, your father. You want to know about your father? I got to tell you this. When I went to work, I was babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to call. I signed up with an agency to go to take care of children. Like your mother. Look at her babysitter was that to the
My grandmother.
Your grandmother. Your grandmother. She's attached to that couple like anything. I used to get attached to them. And so she would tell people if they needed somebody to take care of the baby, or they would go away. I used to get jobs when they used to go away. And I would stay there and take care. I didn't want to take more than 2 children, because 2 is company, 3 is a crowd. And I even avoided to take care of only 1, but when it came to already, it was different. Anyway, I was driving, so I had to take them to school and feed them and stay with them, stay over there. But I made good money. Now it's more in demand. People used to call me here to go to, well, now I gave up, I retired. So I used to tell them that I was not a nurse, what they call the qualified nurse. I know something about. So he didn't, yeah, I said, I was telling your father that I work taking care of children, and they call me qualified nurse. He says, yeah, qualified nurse, a babysitter. He didn't like it. He didn't want me to go to work. No.
Oh, this is Barney.
Barney, yes. He didn't want me to go to work. He was watching over me all the time. After they died, especially, they were the only ones that used to come to see me, and I used to run to them.
Where did you live at that time?
I lived in Brighton all these years. I was.
Are we in Brighton right now?
You're in Brighton
Okay.
now. I'm supposed to be the rich one. Yes, I'm living in Brighton now. It's going to be, since 45.
No kidding.
Right.
Oh, you should be the mayor by now.
I should be. I have a picture with the mayor.
It's the same thing, all right.
Yeah, the same thing, all right.
I'm sure he has that picture up in his house.
Oh, I had it up to a couple of days. Honest to God, I took it off the refrigerator. Picture with the mayor.
Wow, 45 years in Brighton.
That's right. Yeah. People still live in Dorchester. Very few of my... The only one that lived here was Ruthie, lived in Newton. And where did your mother live?
Ruthie now is...
And your grandparents lived in Dorchester.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruthie's now in a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, is she bad? I don't know why the torture. Tara, she knows nobody. She only calls my name and Sam's name, her husband and me.
Do you see her very often?
I used to see her when I was driving. I got sick 3 years ago. I fell down at the wedding.
Oh,
At Paul's wedding. You know Paul?
I don't know Paul.
You don't know? That's Mimi's son.
No, I don't know if I ever met
Paul? No, what a handsome kid. Where is he here? Someplace. Oh, there he is. That's Paul. That's my Paul.
Uh-huh.
He's going to be, now he hasn't. He's married.
Okay. Uh-huh.
He's going to be married 3 years in September. And that's my Mark. We went to the wedding. Frisch und gesund. I fall down there. Paul, everybody was dancing, and I was walking off the floor. Barry was doing all kind of dancing. It was a beautiful wedding. And I'm walking away from they were going crazy.
Yes.
I'm walking away from the floor, and as I walked off the floor, because I landed on the rug, I stretched out
Oh, yeah.
with my back, flat on my neck, flat. Somebody picked me up. They brought me over to my seat. I think it was your parents were there. I think so. I think they were sitting at the same table. They brought me over to Jeannie and Lenny, so they must have been sitting at the same table, because they always put that they come first to anything. Your parents, God, like my kids. And I have talked to myself, how you doing? Everybody came running over, how you doing? I said, I'm fine. Couldn't wait already, but Lenny already saw the way I was turning and twisting and all that, so he said, let's go home. Come home. I'm fine. I don't say nothing. I didn't feel anything yet. And I get myself ready for bed, and the next day I call up Jeannie. Jeannie, I says,
I can't move.
Can't move. Jeannie, I says, I cannot move. When she left me, I was still walking around. What's such a... they always bring me home and they go home. She says, I'll be right over. I says, call Lenny and tell him. She says, okay. She called Lenny. She didn't even want to wait for the ambulance. She says, I'll take you in a chair. Somebody's going to help me, and I'll take you to the hospital there. I was there for about 3 or 4 weeks in the hospital, flat on my back. Right after the wedding, 3 or 4 weeks, 3 I think. I know it was on the 13th, and he got married. First I was in the hospital, and then they took me to a recuperative center. Oh, I've been here giving them chores. Yeah,
But you're in great shape now. You're back to playing baseball and everything.
Oh, my back is still bad. I'm still in a harness. I'm on a cane. I hide my cane when somebody comes. I'm still wearing a harness. I broke 5 vertebrae.
No.
Yes, sir. And now I was told by my internist to go back to have my back taken care of. I don't want to go. I'm afraid they'll keep me in the hospital again. I don't want to. So I'm there, and then that was September and October. In fact, the holidays. I was there till after the holidays. I was in the hospital till after Barry and Judy came to see me Yom Kippur Day. And I think your mother, no, she came later. Somebody else came to see me on Rosh Hashanah, from here, I suppose, yeah. And I was spent the whole week of Yom Tov in the hospital. then I come home and trying to go to the hospital with a still test and doing everything. In May, I have an appointment to go to the doctor. Then I get a stomachache. So I made an appointment with the doctor in the hospital where I was. The hospital down in the West End. Wait a minute.
I don't know.
Spalding Hospital. I caught my menu. I was in Spalding Hospital. That's only 3 years ago. Don't laugh.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm there, and I says, well, I have to go. Maybe it's for my back. I got a stomach. Come there, examines me. He says, I'm having an aneurysm attack. An aneurysm? What's an aneurysm? He says, it's a bubble. He explains it to me. I says, I never had anything like that. I'm supposed to be a healthy horse. Never. I did have a cerebral hemorrhage. That's a really long time ago, too. Am I shocking you, dear?
No, I mean, I would never have guessed. I would never, because you're in such great shape.
That's, of course. I cover up.
Are you in terrible pain?
All the time.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, not so bad. I take my pills and you provide them. That's it. Anyway, tells me that I have to be watched until it grows its size, and I have to go in for surgery.
Where is it?
In my stomach, right from here all the way down.
This was now 3 years ago.
It's going to be 3 years.
Yeah.
It's 2 years that I had the surgery in June. So it's only 2 years that I had the surgery. And was gewachsen, the balloon, and I go in for surgery, and already everything was given up. They were ready to bury me already. Oh, it was a very serious. My age, I was 76 years old. That's right.
So it was 77?
Yeah, either. It was, because I had a 75th birthday. I had it right after the 75th birthday.
I see.
Yeah, I had my 75th birthday. That was in December. And in June, I had the surgery for the aneurysm. They tell me stories that they used to come to see me, and with the pipes. And all they could see, they didn't know what was going to become. And then I got out of it. Lenny was watching me all the way. Lenny dug out, if he had to dig up a doctor from the ground, he would have dug him up. I'm telling you, Brad, that's Lenny. I owe him my life. Oh, what he didn't do. That was, and I have very great relationships with both my son-in-laws.
Oh, good.
And my daughter-in-law. They just were here the other day, Barry and Judy.
Oh.
My children. Look, that's all I have. My life. But that knocked me for a loop when the surgery came. I never had surgery.
Really?
Never had surgery.
Well, good for you.
That's right. But I came out of it. And here I'm on my back. I mean, they're afraid the two things together. 6 months later.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, 9 lives.
Yeah.
What does Jeannie call me? Something about a backbone? What's that? She calls me something about a backbone. She always has a name for it.
Wow.
It's hysterical.
So altogether now you have how many grandchildren?
I still have 8 grandchildren. One is Mimi. She has a retarded child. Don't know about that
yes,
one
yes,
either.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
she must know. Where is she? She's in my other room.
Okay.
You want to see?
Yeah. Oh, up on the wall.
On the wall. Yeah, no, not far. I don't. your mother, your Lee's wife,
Oh, Sharon.
Sharon, she was younger than that. But your mother was, Jesus, she was grammar school.
That's right.
Grammar school, your mother. And then they got engaged. I made them a luncheon. My house, you should hear a luncheon. Ask your mother. She'll tell you. I'll give you a bag for
I
that
have a
too.
yeah.
No, you can put them in a... No. No.
I don't know. I think you've answered all the questions I could
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah. Where were we? With the...
Oh, we went off. I asked you about my grandfather, and you
Yeah.
told me about
Yeah.
everything.
About my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I couldn't imagine any other questions.
We got...
I'm looking. But the picture of the family is so beautiful. That is a beautiful
picture.
Did you have it
No, that's the original picture, and
Oh,
I'm
my
the only
goodness.
one that kept it. Would you believe it? I would like to have it redone and have it for the, somebody might want one of those. I don't know how to go about it. Do you know why I say this? When I was in Los Angeles, my brother, Joe,
Anyway, so who is Sally?
Sally, my George,
Sally married
was
George.
the outcast, my George. But he married a Sally girl, a Sally Wolf. Told you, there's a
Right.
wolf in the family.
Yeah.
It's still around somewhere. It's her brother. She's got a brother. And she's still in California with her daughter. Her daughter lives there. Her daughter's divorced in California. Everybody's divorced. And she's got a child. And my George, for that grandchild, oh, my brother George think that he would be a grandfather or have children and be so nice, so good. It wasn't for real. Are you running this?
Go ahead.
And I tell you that up to this day, and I with my sister-in-law, it's like sisters don't get along as well. Let me call up tomorrow. They want to come. They'll be at the airport. I mean it, Brad. I'm telling you. So they never came to Boston for a long time. And then when he came already, he told us that he had cancer. And we didn't know. So when I went to California, we were all together. Then when he died, I had a girlfriend, came to visit. She lives in California. Pearl is her name. And she came to visit in Boston. She has a sister here, and she had me. Came to visit with us, and she says to me, why don't you come back with me to California? Just like that. I was alone already. And I had no idea, I had no intentions of going. And she says, it would be so nice. She didn't know about my George being sick, and didn't know anything at all, because they didn't know each other. So I says, Pearl, you've got to be kidding. I says, come. I says, if I had who to go with, she says, come with me. We're in a restaurant eating.
You're kidding.
We're in Valleys. We're eating. She says, how long would it take you? Why don't you come with me? I says, you know, Pearl, give me a dime, just like that. I'll call the airport if I can, and give me your ticket number. If I can get a ticket, I'll go with you tomorrow. Honest to God.
And you did?
I did. No, the same day. she says, I'll go home with you. And Ruthie had to go home to make dinner for her husband. She says, my sister and I will go back with you. Good. They're both gone already. And she says, we'll help you pack. That same day, I call up Jeannie, and I call up Mimi, and I call up Barry. I says, I'm leaving for California. And one of them I couldn't get. I called them from the airport. Honest to God, Brad,
Good
if
for
that
you.
isn't something.
That's wonderful.
And when I come back from Valleys to pack, I get a letter. I got mail telling me that George is very sick. And it's his last days. And here, my friend Pearl is standing and listening. She says, well, aren't you glad you're coming with me now? As if she knew that something was going to happen. We come already, quick. We were in the airport. I called, I think it was either Barry. Yeah, Barry must have been. I called the kids first. And then I called somebody from the airport. It must have been my neighbor. Called her from the airport that I'm going to Los Angeles.
So did you see George?
Never got to see him.
Never got to see him.
Never got to see him. So my Sally, I called from my girlfriend's house. I went with her. I had to stay in her house. So I call up my Sally, and I tell her that I'm here. She says, Bertha, would Pearl be able to take you to my house? Because tomorrow we're going to the hospital. Why don't you come to my house for lunch? And we'll go to the hospital, and then we'll stay together. Her daughter, so my Pearl took me to her house. Her daughter and her son were there already. Bob, you don't know Bob, my lawyer from Los Angeles either.
I don't know.
He's a Keimach too. And we're ready. We're eating our lunch. Telephone rings. Sorry to tell you, your husband has just expired. That's exactly what they said. Bob answered the phone. What are we going to do? Right away. Listen, she's brave, very up to, what do you call them, the liberated ones, like your mother. Very liberated. And she says, well, we just have to face the public. She says, and time ran out. And so I stayed there. I stayed there for 3 weeks.
Did you?
With my Sally. I wouldn't leave her.
Good for you.
I could not leave her alone. The children had to go to work. I came for a visit. Here I'm in the house. I'm going to pick myself up and go to my girlfriend's. I moved over to her house. Stayed there for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't. But it must have been till after Shiva anyway. Mm-hmm. And my other brothers were running with the cooking, with the turkeys, with the chickens, with everybody that came to the house. They had a lot of people. Listen, he was the first one to move to California. And that's when, where's the picture? And that's when your father and Charlie came to the funeral. And then I stayed on, and this is it. 20 years ago. My God, he's gone already 20 years. I don't believe that he's gone.
Isn't it so strange that Pearl
and
Valley
Pearl
said come, and that you
and
said
I
yes.
went, like I said, like your Bobby. Same like Bertha. Bertha was a Bertha. Big Bertha. Barry calls me, he doesn't call me Ma, he calls me Big Bertha. Or Bertha the cow, or Bertha.
Oh, shame on him.
How do you like that for a story?
That's a story.
Yeah, and that was then. And the kids, her children were marvelous. They stayed there. Oh. And that's when I found out, the same thing, reminiscing, we found out that there's another Keimach in Milwaukee.
Right,
Sure.
even right now?
Yeah, no.
Still?
Right now, that's 20 years ago, darling.
Yeah. But the other Keimach in Milwaukee, do you know who it was? Did you ever find out who it was?
No, we did. They were here one time, the children, but not the. It's far, Milwaukee. I mean, but still, we knew about them. One time they were here, so Ruthie used to do all those visiting and going. I don't know, because I suppose she had a husband decided not to work. But I already was alone, so I could go whenever I wanted, sure. That was about, how long after Dave died? This was, it's 24 years? Long time. So
4
what
years.
was I here?
4 years.
Not
after.
even 60.
Mm-hmm.
Not even 60. That's right. And then from then on, I already she had her, she lost her husband, I lost my husband, and we became to live with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to travel from then on. That was my travel. The only thing, my girlfriend, she made me do it. She made me do it.
That's wonderful.
And there was something. And then I went again, and I stayed in my Joe's house, in his house, in Joe's house.
Mm-hmm.
I was treated royally. Royally I was treated. Yeah.
So Joe and Harry are still there in California,
They're
in Los
still
Angeles.
in California. Yeah, Los Angeles. I just spoke to them before my nephew died. You heard about my nephew died. Oh.
I heard it was several days after I heard it.
Oh,
I just,
37 years old, boy. Oh, was he a love, a real Keimach, a real Keimach. It's so touching. I can't even talk about it. He suffered so, and took care of everything. He was, good thing he had time, because my Florence would never survive if it took time, if it didn't take time. He told her everything what to do. And he lived in New York too.
I know.
He lived in New York, and then what killed him, I think it was when he wasn't the mama's boy, but he was so good. And his mother was his life. And you heard about him too. Lost his father when he was 12 years old, or 13. Yeah, right after his bar mitzvah, lost his father. So, but so they moved him to Atlanta, Georgia. He was on television. He made TV programs. He had skits making advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to see him once in a while when they had the ads. But he was writing the ad scripts, whatever.
I see.
He was doing very well. So he got sick, and that was the story. Yeah. So that's the way life is. But everything runs into, look at this, how crazy I am.
Yeah.
Look at this one. The way
Yes. Oh, I
that
know.
was
But
in
yeah,
Brad.
you're a ham. You're a ham.
I'm a
I
ham.
know
That's
you.
it. That's what I meant to tell you about Joey. Joe, they call him a ham.
Yeah?
But he is so witty. He makes up stories. I don't make up stories. He used to, my kids, her and Mimi, called them Uncle Apple. His name is Apple. Mama, who is Apple? They were babies when he was in the service. Who is Apple? I said, it's your uncle. Oh, he wanted them to call him Uncle Apple. A name he gave himself? No, Uncle Joe. Apples.
They haven't moved recently around California, have they? I mean, their address.
He has moved, but Joe hasn't. But we get in touch with Joe first. He's our information bureau.
Okay.
And anything we want to know, I can give you his address right there on top of it. He moves around because he's not in a house. He lives in a
Trailer?
no, renting.
Oh, he's in an apartment.
He has a home.
And what's Harry's wife's name?
Claire. And that's his second wife. His first wife, I'm telling you about, Doris. She was a bonfire. Wow, was she a girl. All my sister-in-laws. I cannot find anything wrong with any of my sister-in-laws.
Oh, that's great.
5 sister-in-laws. 5 sister-in-laws.
You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
When I get back, I go back Sunday morning.
You go back Sunday? That's
tomorrow, I'm going to meet
Who are you meeting tomorrow?
with Laura Weinreib. I met her at Bobby's 80th party.
Laurie?
Laura. Do you remember, this is on Bertha, my Bobby's
Bobby's
side.
side, yeah. A girl, one of the nieces?
Uncle Benny. Remember Uncle Benny?
Oh,
his daughter.
His daughter.
I met her at Bobby's
she's
party
an old
for the
lady.
first time. No, she's an old lady. I don't think she's more than 70, 60, 70.
Did I meet her? Did I see her?
You must have seen
I
her.
bet
She's
she was
very quiet.
Very quiet, yes.
And she
I
teaches.
think she come over to me, yes. She's one of the American Bonds.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. I know her, yeah. Oh, you see
So
Uncle Benny and Uncle Benny.
She has pictures, she said, of Bobby's grandparents.
Oh, that's her. Bobby's side,
Yeah, Bobby's, but grandparents.
Yeah, like
You know
I
how
have
old?
of, like I showed you. That's,
No, it would be his father. No, it would be
No, that's the
Bertha's grandparents. It would be like your grandparents.
Well, that's right. Like I remember my grandmother's
Yeah.
name, but I don't remember my grandfather.
So she has
That's-
photographs.
Oh, she's got.
Photographs.
Oh, I see.
So it's one more generation
Do
back.
you want to know something?
Yeah.
I had a picture of my grandmother for many, many years. And when I moved out of my house, so it's only about 15 years, it's about 13 or 14 years that I moved out of my house. The house that I owned on Great Cliff Road, right near the Cardinal Estate. I lived. And it was in the basement. I didn't have so when I moved out of that house, when I sold that house, I don't remember who took the pictures because I moved into a project like this, but I had more luxurious with a swimming pool. I hid the back.
This place is lovely, though.
But we haven't got a swimming pool here.
Excuse me?
And I had 2-bedroom apartment.
Oh my God.
It was Lakeshore Road. It was gorgeous. But I didn't have where to put,
So one of your kids must have the picture.
so I don't know who has the picture because my wedding picture, was it this one? With my grandmother.
Couldn't be. Because your grandmother didn't come to the country.
No, I had a picture of her from my mother. Her mother
I see.
gave me the picture of my grandmother. I had it. My mother died, and I had the picture of my grandmother.
Your kids have it.
I bet I must ask Mimi.
We have to start a
I
riot here to find...
I bet Mimi has. It was a beautiful picture, frame and everything with a white necklace. Oh, she looked so gorgeous, beautiful.
But anyway,
and my mother was the only girl. There were 5 boys and 1 girl, or 6 boys or 7 boys, I don't know. But she was the only girl, all boys. Isn't that something? She was the only girl. Yeah.
Anyway, when I go back to I'm going to write to him.
You are? You got the address
and tell him
and
that I
everything?
met with you.
Oh, yeah, tell him. Oh, he'll be thrilled. He'll be thrilled.
Because I've never met him.
He's a great-grandfather already, too. He's got a married granddaughter.
Oh, my goodness.
She's got a baby. Oh, yes. Must be close to 75. He must be. He's next to the youngest, 2 years apart.
If he's 7, that means he's only 5 years younger than you?
Maybe, no, there's another one in between. He's over 70. He's over, and I remember when it was his 70th birthday. And then I took sick between 3 years and now. Since 3 years ago, I'm beginning to lose out a little bit. But up until 3 years ago, I was just doing things. I mean it. Yeah. So these last few years, like tamed.
Yeah, just you'll see. You get your strength back,
I'm getting there.
and then you'll tear up
But
the
it's
town.
slow. It's slowly
But
getting.
take your
I
time.
get banged up and I get hurt and I
Oh,
fall.
dear.
All from the back. All from the back.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, it's age 2 already. I got at least now I can say it's my age. It's not just that I'm old. It's my age.
Well, I'm gonna write to him and
Yeah. Do that.
also because I have to find out where
Something.
his son Ronnie, who's about my
Oh,
age.
That's right. Oh, his son Ronnie is a love. When I
He
was
is.
there, oh my God.
And when I saw him,
He
it was
works-
his fiancée, the
Yeah.
blonde.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one he got married to.
But they were going to move, and I never got his address. But he sent me
It's
a
wonderful to
family
keep in-
tree.
Oh, he did.
He made a tree, you know.
Ron did?
Ron did.
Oh, Ron is like his father.
And actually, I looked at it before coming here. A few days ago, I took it out, and a lot of names there that I didn't know. You know, people. But
Well, of
you helped
course.
me. I mean, the names you
Yeah,
mentioned helped quite a bit.
of course it does. The names, of course, but I don't know their the dates.
Mm.
Names is one thing, but dates already. It's
Yeah, because it was very interesting. It would be great
it would be
to
nice.
come up with a whole family.
The
'cause
whole family.
he just did it, I think, from I guess Jake. Is that your father?
Jacob.
Jacob.
That's what they used to call him. Yeah.
Jacob and your
Okay.
mother.
My mother was Sophie.
Jacob and Sophie. Okay, they were the top.
They were the top.
So
yeah.
I don't think it had Jacob's brothers or parents or Sophie's.
Yeah.
You know, it was just Jacob and Sophie, and then
I
all
don't
the
know.
children.
Was it Sophie? She used to call her Sophie. I used to call her Ma. I don't remember. I don't know if she used to call herself Sophie or well, it couldn't be Shayla because look, I remember my grandmother's name. Maybe I don't remember.
Oh, wait a minute. You know something?
Yeah.
The picture that I said I had isn't your mother. It's Bobby's mother.
Ah, I was wondering.
Because
You
you
said
had
Bobby's. You were talking about your Bobby's mother.
I see.
You were talking about them. Hey, you're
Yeah.
forgetting too.
Yeah, well, see, when you get to be my age, you know, some of these details,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
get all mixed up.
All this is going to be on.
It's all there, yeah.
It's all finished?
No, it's still going.
Still going?
Sure.
There you go. Telling you, so there's a lot of things. Now you want to see the other pictures too.
Show me
But this,
pictures.
what did you want to do? Oh, you want to write to
I'm
your
gonna write to
Now,
Joe.
this is the finale.
Oh boy. Okay.
This is the finale.
Let's make space.
See, you
Let's
have
make
all the grandchildren here,
Yeah.
and this is part of them.
Yes, I
This
saw.
is the new baby, you see. Now, that's a month later.
Okay.
This is a month later. Where do you see our face?
My
That's
goodness.
Brad's baby. Would you believe it?
Brad Sefon.
Brad Sevon.
Oh, what a
Would
cutie.
you believe? You know, Uncle Todd. See that's Brad's brother.
Uh-huh.
He's finishing law school. This coming next year. He
Mhm.
has one more year to go. So we call him Uncle Todd. He's so crazy about that baby.
Mm,
Would you believe? That's Lenny.
sure.
That's he didn't deliver her,
Uh-huh.
but they let him hold her when she was born. They were there when the baby was.
Oh, really?
When she was in labor, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a cutie.
And there's your silent admirer. I call her that. I said, look at that. They asked me when I showed the baby, they said, is that the mother? I says, no, that's the Bobby.
Jeannie must love that.
Oh, does she? Look what she looks like over there.
Oh, yeah.
When she was she was about 7 weeks old there.
Wonderful. yes.
And there she's in the hospital. Look, in the hospital bed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me up there,
Yeah.
their house already. That's in the hospital bed. And that's when before they got married.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the ganze Mischbuche.
That's right.
Look at that one over there. Oh, she's something. I look at her and I laugh with her.
Yeah.
That's the
beautiful.
pride and joy. That's the real interest. That's the real one.
So that's your only great.
The
the
first
one so
oh,
far.
yeah, that's
Okay.
only the first one. Right. Yeah?
Wonderful.
They're married. These are married 7 years already. They don't budge.
Yeah.
At least these are 3 years. They're going to be married 3 years in October. Paul is going to be married. Paul is going to be married also. 4 years. One is married 4 and one is married 3. Yeah. Brad got married before. Yeah. Brad got married in October. I don't know which one got married first. Paul got married first. Paul got married first. They're not married 3 years yet? I don't remember already. Now you got me mixed up now, but it's between the two of them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So now I think I'll, you can rest up a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you too. This is the greatest.
Oh.
I never expected that. I just said, I didn't tell him that you're coming to take my life history, but I said my conductor is coming. Oh, the one you went to Carnegie Hall? I says, yes. Oh, and then you're going to meet the two ladies.
Yes.
Ah.
And
Everybody knows. It's a good thing you asked them or whatever.
I said, because I saw her at the bottom of the hill, right when I turned in, because I said, is this the right place? I'm looking for Wallingford.
That's right, yeah.
She said, yes. And I
Oh, yeah.
said, what number?
Uh-huh.
And I said, 28, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right up there. And so I pulled in, and by the time I got my stuff together and got out of the car, there they were again. They had walked up.
Yeah, and they walked the
said,
same
so
way
I said,
with
hello
you.
again. She says, well, who are you going to see? So I figured in the big place, who's to know?
Who's
So
to
I said,
know?
I don't know, do you know Bertha Brooks? Of course!
Oh, who doesn't know Bertha Brooks?
I think she said that too.
Oh, sure. That's
And
what she
said,
said.
yeah, and she said, and who are you? Or something like that, you
Well,
know.
isn't that something,
And I
though?
said,
We do that, too.
Uh-huh.
We do that, too.
And
I
she
do
said,
that,
well,
too. We see
tell
a
her you-
stranger, because we know, especially from this floor,
Mhm.
or in this building,
Mhm.
we don't know too many. If anybody goes in the elevator, they're all in this building, on this side. There's another building, an A building. We don't know too many from the A building.
Oh,
And then
interesting.
there's another house. It's
Oh,
a
really?
four-house project.
Oh, my.
4 buildings under, and we have a bubble. Yeah, I got to show you the bubble.